in 2019. I was just 15 years old and I was in high school. At one point, I received a request to follow on Instagram from a 25-year-old guy. He was not unknown as he attended the same church as my family, but we weren't even friends. I only saw him once or twice and we never spoke. I was even surprised that he knew my name because I didn't know his name until that moment. He always liked my photos, replied to my stories, and I always tried to ignore it as much as I could, or sometimes I would just say thank you and completely ignore any attempt of him trying to build a conversation. He was very insistent, until one day he sent me some DMs saying that he would like to get to know me better and that he would like to take me out to dinner sometime. But I obviously declined and I was quite honest with him and said it would never work since I was underage and he should look for someone his age. At the moment, I didn't want to sound rude as we had a high possibility of meeting in church again, and I didn't want to cause a strange atmosphere, and that's why I didn't block him at first moment. After that, he seemed quiet, until the day I made a post with my friends at school. We took a photo inside the classroom and I made the big mistake of tagging the location in the photo, the location of my school. Minutes after that, he sent me a DM saying, "Oh, I live very close to your school. I think I only live 5 or 7 minutes away," and I didn't answer. At that moment, it didn't cross my mind that it was a risk I could be taking. The same day, he continued to ask me if I would like to hang out with him after school, and that he would like to take me to lunch, and once again, I politely declined. I was getting annoyed by this point. My parents were not enjoying the situation either, and told me that if I wanted, they could confront him about it, but I didn't want any problems or being the target of comments in church, as gossip often spread quickly over there. I believed that ignoring it was the best way, but it wasn't. The next day, our biology teacher had to leave school due to an emergency, so we had the last class time vacant. Me and my friends took our bags and went to the top floor of the school, where we had a complete view of the school entrance. We stood there, watching the street movement while we were talking. That's when we noticed a man leaning over against a silver car in a little more scheduled corner of the street, but I could perfectly see who it was. At first I didn't believe it, so I went to his Instagram profile because I had remembered that he had some pictures with his car and just wanted to make sure it was the same one I was seeing, and to my misfortune, it was the same car. So I took my phone and zoomed in on his face and had confirmation of what I already knew. It was him. I told my friend what was happening and they got scared. He hadn't seen me up there, which was good, so we made a plan so I could get out of school without him seeing me. The moment the school bell rang, my 3 friends got in front of me and I went down the school stairs behind them. They took me to my car and I managed to get in without any problems and go home in peace. I didn't even think to look in the direction he was. When I got home, I went to my Instagram just because I was going to confront him, but I got surprised that he had blocked me, which was a relief but also made me think he saw me at school and knew I had seen him. I told my parents what happened, but there wasn't much that could be done. After that, he never showed up at church again. My cousin, my partner, and I wanted to do something entertaining and different, and decided on mini golfing. We went to Camelot Golfland in Anaheim. Besides golf, they had other attractions that looked fun, but for the most part, we wanted to play golf. So we buy our tickets and get our gear to start. As we approach our first game, my cousin mentions that she has to go to the restroom and asked if anyone else needed to go, and my partner and I both didn't need to use it. So my cousin went by herself, and my partner and I stayed at our first game, talking. And then they mentioned that I have something on my teeth and I couldn't get it out, and I needed to wash my hands to do so. I decided to go to the restroom to wash my hands. As I follow the path and enter the arcade section of the place, I bump into my cousin. She asked what happened and I tell her I was going to quickly wash my hands. She continued walking out to wait with my partner and I continued to walk to the bathroom. The instant I go in, I felt a presence as if someone was in a stall or the presence of someone being there with me. I started washing my hands right away, and my mind starts thinking of dark scenarios, situations, feelings, whatnot. I started tensing up. I think to myself that I should probably use the restroom really quick, but I didn't want to be there longer than I had to because of what I was feeling. I open the first stall and go in, and I start getting creeped out more as the moments passed because I couldn't shake off this feeling. My mind was going dark and I was feeling extremely uncomfortable. It was as if my mind was hijacked with this intrusive thought that I never had. But I didn't want to invest in that energy, so to stay calm, I broke down what I needed to do into a list, which did help. This ended up helping me not to freak out. The presence I felt was intense, mean, scary, creepy, and the thoughts I had were terrible. Once I got out, I felt this relief, and I rushed to talk to my partner and cousin from the discomfort. And the creepy part of all was that my cousin ended up listing everything that she felt right after I said I was super uncomfortable in that bathroom. Right after I said that, my cousin looked at me and said she started thinking really dark, scary things like what I thought, and they were super uncomfortable from the moment they walked in, and they were trying to get out and be calm the whole time, but she thought she was tripping out. Right after that, I was in complete shock because that was exactly what I was experiencing, and I ended up telling her. It all matched up. After that, we spoke about it a few more times during our games, but we didn't go back to the bathroom. Now, being home, it's something I still can't shake up, so I thought of writing it and hoping someone can say anything about this. About a month ago, I was 21 years old, and I moved downtown into a new apartment with my boyfriend. It's been doing great, and we love having smaller space together with our dog and cat, but recently we've been having weird stuff happen. For reference, we're on the bottom level. A few weeks ago after work, I was sitting on my couch waiting for my boyfriend to get home when I heard my front door slightly open. At the time, I wasn't locking it so my boyfriend could just walk in without having to dig out his keys and etc. I thought maybe it was just the wind because the door has trouble latching anyways. I walked up to it and opened the door, and a man was walking up to my steps but bolted away towards the opposite direction when he saw me. What was that about? That was weird. I didn't tell my boyfriend because honestly I thought nothing of it. Fast forward a few days later, I was sitting on my couch playing on my Nintendo Switch and I hear a noise from our back door that I'm sitting a few feet away from. All of a sudden, someone ripped open our screen door and grabbed the glass sliding door handle to open it, but they ran away when I yelled, "What the heck?" It happened so fast and I was so shocked I didn't see what they looked like. I called for my boyfriend in the other room and told him what happened, and he grabbed his skateboard as a weapon and went to check his front door. As he opened it, I heard him say, "What's up, man?" and then he came back inside. He told me a man was walking up to our steps and turned to walk the opposite direction when my boyfriend opened the door. The same thing that happened to me a few days prior. I told him my experience and he got freaked out. I messaged a few friends of mine and they offered to give us a Ring camera and suggested that we get better weapons than a skateboard. My theory is someone is scoping out our apartment. Knowing we're new definitely startled us and makes me on edge every time I'm home alone, constantly glancing out the back door making sure it's still locked. I used to work as a bartender at a bar that closed at midnight. My coworker that night was someone that I was friends with, and we would often go out for a drink after we had finished closing the bar down. That night we finished around 1 a.m. and decided to go to a nearby bar that was open until 2 a.m. and was popular amongst service industry people. We enjoyed our drinks, and when the bar was closing up and we were paying our tabs, I noticed a male friend of mine who was going through a rough breakup. We ended up sitting outside of the bar on the back of my car and talking. We both had a lot to catch up on, and we ended up having a very nice but long conversation. I checked my phone and realized the time was about 3:55, almost 4 in the morning. This was too late for me, so I said goodbye to my friend, and we both got into our cars and left. I lived about half a mile from this bar, only a few blocks, so it didn't strike me as too odd when I saw a car closely driving behind me. It was such a short distance that I didn't really notice or think much of it. I pulled up in front of my apartment and got out of my car as the car followed me past, and then sharply U-turned and stopped in front of me. The window rolled down, and a man's voice said, "Hi, I saw you when you arrived at the bar when I was watching you. You seem really beautiful and interesting, so I decided to wait for you to leave so I could follow you and ask for your number." It slowly dawned on me that he had seen me sometime around 1 a.m. when I arrived, and then they were somehow watching me outside after the bar had closed for the entire 2 hours I sat out there with my friend. He must have been sitting in his car just watching and waiting for me to leave. "You watched me that entire time and then followed me home?" "You can't do that," I said. He started to get out of his car to apologize and convince me, but I yelled that I had my phone and that I dialed 911. He jumped back in his car and sped away. I waited until I couldn't see him anymore to go inside, so he didn't know which place I lived at. It was so dark, I never even saw his face, and honestly I was too scared and too shocked to think and try to get his license plate. All I remember was it was a dark blue and black sedan. I spent the rest of my afternoon living there slightly afraid and looking over my shoulder. I received some strange and silent phone calls after that until I eventually moved and changed my number. I also never went back to that bar again.